I've talked about in many videos in the past about how Power Rangers handles the show's secret identity issue. There are many instances where MMPR and later seasons that they just overlook this whole secret identity thing. How did Super Sentai handle all the characters through the seasons? Each of the seasons handled their secret identities in many different ways, and so I'll be looking at all the seasons that PR adapted and see how Sentai did their stories. Now, Zyuranger's pretty unique. These characters were from millions of years in the past, and they were sealed away in mirrors. So when they came to the present, they had no family alive, so Bandora can't exploit their families at all. And there's really no connection anywhere into the modern world. So the Zyurangers primarily do not care about their secret identities. They will henshin in front of people if needed, and most of the kids that they do interact with know who and what they are. Now, Ranger's kind of in the middle circumstance. Half of the characters that we know do not interact with their families. They pretty much are seldom. However, we do know from the other three, Ryo, Rin, and Ko, they do actually have family interactions that deal with the enemies. And they've been a part of this entire, generations. So while their families most likely know about the Goroma and their situations they're in, they do keep their secret identities overall hidden to everyone else. And the Goma also don't seem to care about anything that involves, the outside world, and they're really only focused so much on defeating the Rangers. Now, for the Kaka Rangers, the family lines are not really talked about. The only two are the exception is Ninja White and Black, and they've all been killed by them. But they do keep very isolated, and no one knows about, the Kaka Rangers, and they keep their secret identities hidden, and they rarely interact with people as much as possible. So the main villains really don't have anyone to target and exploit. Now, for O-Ranger's sake, this was a public organization, so all their identities are known, but they also don't interact with their families. So for the most part, the Machine Empire does not know who they're related to, so they keep them isolated that way. But for the public, everyone knows who the O-Rangers are. Now, Car Ranger was the first of the PR seasons that acted like PR does, where they hid their identities from everyone, not just friends. That also includes the bad guys and Signal Man, which, was pretty funny because he was always annoyed at them, so it gave a lot of comedy bits. But for one of the goofiest seasons done, they kept their secret identity hidden very seriously until basically the end. Now, Mega Rangers did the exact same thing. They hid their identities from everyone, except in this case, the show actually had to deal with them being exposed near the end of the season. When people found out they were the Mega Rangers, they were blamed that they were the ones who were bringing the bad guys in. Obviously, that's not true, but people would lash out at them and would not trust them, kick them out of school, and they dealt with consequences that, Power Rangers usually will never deal with. Now, Ginga Man, they're from a sealed-off magical land that doesn't really normally interact with the outside world. Because everyone turned to stone, their family and all their friends were, basically cut off from the story. So, ultimately, their secret identities really don't matter. They befriended various peoples, and they'll henshin in front of people if needed. Go-Go 5, just like how Lightspeed Rescue, this was the season that they first showed their identity to the public in PR, did the same thing. Their identities are public to anyone. Time Ranger, this is pretty simple. They're from the future, their families are in the future. There's no way to really do anything unless they want to alter the past. So their identities, it's actually fairly unique because the only reason why they keep their identities a secret is to really hide from the Guardians and Time Red's father. Other than that, they wouldn't care about their secret identities. Gao Ranger actually went out of their way to keep their identities very secretive. No one knows who they are. Their family members don't know where they are. Some obviously think that they're dead. And when they're in the field, and even in the beginning of the show until near the end, they always use code names. Even them themselves didn't know really their real names. And the only time we ever had family members interact with them was with Gao White. Hurricaneer, just like Kaka Ranger, their ninja school was hidden from the real world. They had to protect their secret identities as well. They also rarely interacted with their families, and they really only worked at their jobs, and they try to protect their jobs as much as possible. So whenever they were called on alert, they always try to never be around people and run off to fight the Jakanja. Abba Ranger is a little bit more unique. Asuka was from another dimension, so he got cut off from his people. Really, the only person who has any kind of family relations is Red, because he adopted his sister, and he doesn't really have a family. Blue never really talked about his family, and Yellow as well kept to herself. For the most part, they do try to keep a secret identity. In most cases, if they were ever found out, it's more of an in-between. Now, Deca Ranger, it's another public organization based on police, so they're all known, and we don't really ever see them interact with their families, so most likely they keep them isolated until the bad guys really never know who they are linked to. Now, Maji Ranger's kind of also unique too. While Kai is the only one that really goes to school, the other 4 don't interact with anyone. So their secret identities can go in either direction. If it weren't for Kai, most likely the Maji Rangers would have no problem showing who they were. Now, Bokenger is also another odd season. They almost never interact with their family. Yellow doesn't know where she came from, and the SGS organization is public. It's a museum, but they do try to keep their identities a secret. But I think it's more in the case of they don't want people to bother them because they're, looking for the precious, and they want to keep that kind of hidden. They could show off their identity and they probably wouldn't care. Deca Ranger is also very similar to Bokenger. They never really interact with their family. Jan didn't know where he was from. Scratch organization is a public place. They actually sell memorabilia and stuff. Just for the sake of not really involving Scratch, they keep their identities a secret, but it can probably go either way. Now, I would say Go Onger actually is the best of hiding their secret identities. They don't really interact with people. They have a mobile base. They have no place to call home. They simply cut themselves off when they became the Go Orangers. For example, Honto and Gunpei, when they became green and black, he quit his job and he told no one of where they were going. But overall, I personally think if they had an option, they probably wouldn't have cared if people know. Shinkenger, again, kind of like Kaku Ranger, it was a family line, so even if they knew their family, which we have seen in future episodes, it wouldn't really be useful to villains because they are all previous Shinkengers. They all know how to fight, so they can actually deal with them if needed. So their identities really can go either way, and the only main secret identity they kept was Kaoru, so that they didn't know where she was or who she was. The Gosagers, they're from another dimension, so we never see the dimension, we never see their family members, nothing. So nothing's known about them, villains can't do anything, and they also don't care about their secret identity because their home is not from Earth. Gokaiger's the same thing. They're from outer space, from various different planets. They don't even have family. Even if they did went back to the planet, most planets, they were destroyed, so their family's dead. So they'll transform into the Gokaigers or the other past Rangers in front of people no matter what. Go Busters is an in-between. All their family members died in the other dimension, so I think the only reason why the Go Busters keep themselves hidden is to protect the organization. It doesn't want other people to know the other side of the Go Busters. In Kyoryuger, they do show some interactions with family members. Red's father's involved in the story, and Pink is fairly known, but they keep everything hidden for the most part, so they keep their secret identities. The villains really don't know any real personal information about them, so whenever they interacted with their family, they were never around to exploit it. Just like Kaku Rangers, the Ninja are a long line of fighters, and with the exception of Star Ninja, with the show trying to copy Naruto, its rules on secret identity is all over the place. Tradition in some places, don't care in others. Q Ranger, just like the Gokaigers, are all from different worlds. There's no way to locate their family members, so their secret identities don't really matter because they're from different places. With Rusoldier, it's similar to Jew Ranger. They have a tribe line that's been going on for many, many years. For the most part, they do keep their identities a secret. So you can see with Super Sentai, they do try to deal very realistically on how they would deal with the secret identities. And if they are ever public, they actually, deal with those consequences. Deca Base is always attacked. Go 5. Eventually they figure out where things are and attack Rescue Bay 55. So whenever they're known, they will exploit them properly, just like in Mega Rangers is a prime example of that. When they aren't known, the season tries their best to always isolate key family members or friends that they deal with. And I think that's what makes Super Sentai overall better. They try their best to make the world feel like, yeah, this could possibly happen, and rather than this whole fantasy element of, we're semi-realistic, but when it comes to just, be kind of cool, let's ignore the logic and go, it's Morphin time in the hallway. Thanks again for watching. If you have a suggestion or topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below and I may use it in another video.